like to work out, I like to get up early, and those things just don't align with me. I like to be in bed. I like to, I just want to go to sleep all the time. So alcohol doesn't really mix with that because you don't sleep well. I would like wake up in the middle of the night and be like, this feels bad, why am I up? Or like, this was a weird one. Like I would get like a pain here sometimes when I would drink, like the next day. Like, what does that mean? Like for no reason, it would just happen, like right on my hand. Weird. Hi friends, I'm Kelsey. How are we doing today? I'm excited to make this video because I want to talk about my 1 year of being sober. I was holding for applause. No, I'm kidding, but for real, it has been a big learning experience. Like I feel like I've learned a lot this year about myself and just felt a lot more confident in myself after completing this year. It's actually been a year and like 5 days at this point. I wanted to give it a little time to marinate, to think about what I was gonna say. But it's been pretty cool. I think what I want to talk about are like some lessons I've learned, some tips I have, and a little bit about my experience. So I think my first little disclaimer is that alcohol is a drug, just like everything else. I gave up alcohol, weed, and just, any recreational party drugs that I wasn't like, big on doing anything like that. But just no substances at all. Nothing that was like mind altering. It's just a big flat no for me. And that was what I defined as sober. And I think that's the definition of sober, but I know some people like quit alcohol, but they'll like still smoke or something, but I wasn't doing that. No cigarettes, nothing. And I think my other little disclaimer is that I don't really think I've ever had a problem with alcohol. I just wanted to give up drinking and all of that to better align with my own personal goals, and honestly just to see if I could. I wanted to see how it was gonna go, how this year was gonna go for me. I just realized like as I'm getting older, drinking just like didn't agree with me or how I wanted to act or how I really liked the way I acted. But I just felt like I could have the same amount of fun without the alcohol. So why was I adding in the alcohol? It was really just like a way, especially towards the end of last year, it was like a way for me to choose that I wasn't going to be present for the moment. It was me choosing that I don't trust myself to handle this social outing or this interaction on my own. And I feel like that's when you notice, okay, maybe there's a better way to handle this. I don't need alcohol to fuel my social interactions. I can do that on my own. So I think social interactions was a big one for me. It was trusting myself that, hey, I can do this on my own. People would come up to me and tell me like, oh, like it's so cool that you're not drinking. And like, they just didn't feel like they could do it themselves. Because like I don't want to put words in anyone else's mouth, but maybe it's like insecurity or just social pressure, or you don't trust that like you can like let loose, where I love to dance. You can catch me on the dance floor no matter what. So maybe they just don't feel like they could do those things or feel confident enough to do those things without drinking, or just because like everyone else is doing it, or maybe you like the taste of it, There's tons of reasons why people drink. And I didn't even scratch the surface of most of them. So that was something I really just wanted to have as a disclaimer, was I'm not claiming to be someone who's like an expert on alcoholism or anything like that. And this video really isn't even touching or scratching the surface of alcoholism. That's not really what I'm getting into. I'm talking more about if you want to cut out alcohol in your life or just drink less of it. Because going into this next chapter, if I want to have a glass of wine once in a blue moon, I think that's fine. I don't think you should, if you don't have a problem with something, I don't think you should make something a problem for yourself. I think socially, we just need to all care less about what people think of us. Just bottom line, point blank, we need to care less about being perceived a certain way. Like if you're going out and like everyone else is drinking, like you can't be concerned that they're gonna judge you for not drinking, or worry about if they think that you're looking down on them because they are drinking. I don't feel that way. I'm like, lots of people drink. I don't think it's a problem necessarily. I think there's a lot of bad behavior sometimes that people want to get away with because they're drinking, and that doesn't fly. But I think just if you don't care about what other people think, it's a lot easier to live your own life, like putting yourself first. If you are investing in yourself and putting energy into yourself and your own comfort and your own well-being, well-being, it's going to be a lot easier for you to assert yourself and feel confident in that decision. Because if you're not like, I don't know, guys, like maybe, like I don't want to drink, like it's gonna be easier for someone to convince you. But if you're like, no, I don't drink, that's fine, like don't worry, like you go ahead, do it, like I don't care, but I'm here, I'm fine, I'm having a good time just drinking liqueur, some seltzer or some water, who cares? Maybe even a nice mocktail. There's tons of like those spirit mocktail things now. I'm not like a big mocktail person. I'd rather just have like water, sparkling water, but if that's you, there's lots of options now, baby girl, so go forth, have fun. I think I also just found that I wasn't missing alcohol when I went out, when I was like at a dinner, if someone was like drinking a glass of wine, like just like wasn't missing it. Like I felt okay. And I think that was like a big test for me as well, was when I was like around my family and like typical like holiday stuff where like everyone's drinking a glass of wine. Like I was like, no, I'm okay. And just feeling like fine. And I think not drinking has actually given me a lot more confidence in myself and in my personality, where I don't need to rely on something else to get through a social situation. I can sit in my own presence, my own personality, and if I'm feeling happy and excited, that's just me. And if I'm feeling kind of like chill and just like, yeah, that's it. I don't even know how to explain that. If you're just feeling like fine, like you're just existing, like that's fine too. And people will take you as you are. Like you don't have to make yourself feel a certain way. And I think people use alcohol and things like that to make themselves feel a certain way or to like act a certain way. And it's been nice, like just existing as myself and doing that. I think the other hardest part was going on dates and being like, hey, I don't drink. And if you're on like a dating app or something and someone offering like, hey, we should grab a drink, and saying like, oh, actually I don't drink, want to get dinner instead. There's awkwardness of like, oh, are we at a bar? Like, yeah, I'm gonna get a soda water. Or are we at a restaurant? Like, oh, are you sure you don't want to drink? Yeah, I'm good. You know, it's fine, because especially if you are going into a dating situation, you want to present a lot of a sense of yourself, because it's going to be a lot harder for someone else to take advantage of you or push you around or make you feel like you have to adhere to like what they want you to do if you feel that like security in yourself. So just saying no to things that seem like they're not going to be good for you is something to learn. I still think the label of being sober is like a little weird for me. I've never really considered myself that, even though I've been doing it for the whole year. Throughout the year, I've never was really like, oh, I'm sober. I would just say like, oh, I don't drink. I think for some reason that just like sits better with me, where like labels sometimes can be scary. So if that's like even something that would help you, just not even like being like, oh, I'm sober, like, oh, I can't do this thing, because it has all those negative connotations too, because then people just like automatically assume you've had a problem in your past, which it's none of their business, first of all, and there's nothing wrong with if that was you, like it's a disease or like an addiction like everything else, but it's just, you don't need other people's assumptions in your mind. Like it's none of their business. It's just a choice that you're making, just like everything else is a choice you're making. So I think if you think of it that way, is like, oh, I'm just choosing not to do this, it's a lot easier, because when it puts the power back in your hands, like I choose not to drink right now, or I'm choosing not to smoke, or I'm choosing not to go do that thing that I just don't think will align with me. I think as long as you're thinking of things as a choice and as a choice you are making, like everything else, you just feel more confident, you feel better about it, and like you want to do it. And that's really what this is about. Like I feel like I'm not doing it because I feel like it makes me miserable. It doesn't. I actually feel great. So I actually feel great. I can still go to bars if I want to with friends and just not drink. Would feel bad for like the bartender, but and I'm also saying that just to like give more like love and attention to someone who might actually be struggling with alcoholism, because it's like not that easy to just be like, okay, now done, you're stopping, you're over it, you're not doing that again. Like that actually is hard. Like people struggle with like all different kinds of addictions, like no matter what it be, whether it be alcohol or weed or food or drugs or like anything that you are struggling with, like they're all addictions just like everything else. So it's not always that easy to give things up. So I'm not saying like, oh, just stop doing it and you'll be perfectly fine. And that's why I said like I didn't have a problem with this before necessarily. So that's why it was easy for me when I stopped to just stop. But if that's not your experience, I just want to know, like, I see you, I hear you, that's okay. And things like, it doesn't mean that it's not worth doing if that's something you want to do. Like, I'm not telling anyone to do anything. I'm not telling people that they have to give up drinking or anything like that. It's just like, if you're already thinking about it and you want to, like, hopefully this can be a little bit helpful, my experience, and anything like that. You can also just tell me to shut up. That's fine too. And yay. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope that there was something helpful in this video for any of you that might want to give up drinking, or at least cut back on it, or be able to finally say when you're out with your friends, like, hey, I'm actually not gonna drink tonight and I mean it this time. And that's perfect and that's wonderful. Wherever you are in your journey, I salute you, it's great. And yeah, I hope that your week goes well, and I'll see you all next week. Bye. I remember when I was in high school, my senior year of high school, I would like go to school for no reason, just to be like bad because I was a good kid and good in school. Just to be a bad kid, I would like sneak vodka in one of like a water bottle, and I would have like 4 water bottles, and one of them would be filled with vodka and the rest with water. So sometimes I would do like a little roulette and see which one I picked out of my backpack and take a sip. So I got really good at pretending like it was water, which isn't a good skill to have. I lost that skill as I didn't do that consistently. It was like just a brief period of me being bad, but you know how that goes.